capitalism, although admittedly Marx and Engels use them interchangeably. There's like no difference in how they use them. So when someone says that Europe has like a socialist economic model, especially with what happened in America recently with Bernie Sanders and the whole democratic socialist thing, yeah, that's bullshit. He's not a democratic socialist at all. Maybe privately, but definitely his policies were not.
And so can you give me some examples? When you say socialist policies, like what would some examples of this be?
Socialist policies in the economy, which is the only place where you can genuinely have socialist policies since it only applies to economics.
Sure.
It would be worker ownership. So according to some leftist theorists, say co-ops, like cooperatively owned businesses, where all the workers have a share in the company and own it collectively, and democratically determine what the company does.
Okay.
So there's no owner, and the workers are not just employees, they're also all owners.
Is there any other type of socialist policy, or is that like what everything comes down to, is ownership of the means of production?
You're going to get here into like the 10 billion sects of socialist thought, where you have, there's market socialists who believe that, you have this socialist economy with worker ownership of the means of production that operates within the market. There are syndicalists who believe that the economy should be more kind of through decentralized planning managed by syndicates, i.e. trade unions. There's central planning advocates who think that you should have an entity which, through central planning assigns resources to communities.
When you talk about things like private property, is that compatible with socialism or no?
Private property. I'm gonna not go out on a whim here and ask you what you think private property means. Just
citizens owning, I guess, like homes or private property, like not publicly owned but privately owned, and then you have your own access to it.
This is a common misconception as well. When Marxists, and this is not like, oh, Marxists use this. This is like actual terminology that was used like ever since capitalism became a thing in like the 17th century. Private property refers to productive property, i.e. what in economics you would generally call capital.
Oh, okay.
At least, not like variable capital, but constant capital. So factory machines,
stores and stuff would be considered.
Yeah, natural resources. So when we say no private property, we mean like no private individuals, and for that matter, no state entities, no like government owning natural resources or productive property. When we talk about things like houses or communists aren't coming for your fucking toothbrush, we would refer to that as personal property, and that's completely fine, and like no one's coming to take that away.
Gotcha. Well, I don't think in America you guys aren't taking anything away, right? We're all capitalists.
Well, no, actually, like 1% of you are, 0.5% of you are capitalists, and then the rest of you are proles.
Is that whatever system of capitalism we use now or whatever? What does it mean by proles? What do you mean by that?
Proles just short for proletarians, as in working class.
Oh, so people that don't really know what they're just kind of along for the ride?
No, people who work for a wage and don't extract the wealth from the work of others. So if you work a job for a wage, you're a proletarian.
Gotcha.
If you pay out wages to others, then you make your wealth of the produce of other people's work, you're a capitalist.
Oh, sick. Okay. So when I pay my YouTube guy to do videos for me, does that make me a capitalist? Because he's producing wealth for me via the ad revenue I make off of my YouTube videos?
Well, that depends. Is he like effectively on contract work?
Kind of, yeah.
If he's a self-employed, then no, he's.
Oh fuck.
Then he falls outside the class binary.
Okay.
There are more minor classes, but they're generally not large enough parts of society to be cared to account for in a class analysis.
Gotcha.
So, like,
I guess, or I'm not sure if you're aware of it, just to explain maybe where that confusion comes in. In the United States, when we talk about like public or private property, it's always citizen-owned versus government-owned, I guess. So I'd always assume that's what I meant.
That's the same thing in Europe. Like, it's just that, you know, I would make a distinction between, you know, you have private property, i.e., the ownership of private enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
You have public or state property. And then you have what I would call social property, which would be property that is productive property owned by the workers in a socialist manner. And you know, communists or socialists don't like want government ownership of all the businesses and stuff. Like,
what do you, here, I'm curious about this, just because I really don't know much about alternative economic forms.
For one moment, my cat wants to leave the room, and I need to open the door.
Oh, sure thing.
Okay, back.
What Oh fuck! I totally just lost my train of thought.
No problem.
We were just talking about the difference between public and private.
Yeah.
Fuck! I'll remember it in a little bit.
Is my cat a commie fucker too? My cat is actually a Russian blue, so possibly.
Where were you, where do you live in, Poland?
I don't live in Poland.
Oh, you're just Polish, okay. Where do you live?
London.
Oh, gotcha. Were you raised in Poland at all?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I lived in Warsaw for 3 months. I was just curious. Well, I guess, is there anything else? I'm not really equipped to have like a discussion on the validity of different economic models. I don't have like an educational background in any of this, so I can't really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Frankly, I think a lot of the education in economics and, you know, whatever business studies or whatever is frankly designed to keep a lot of people away from a genuine. And I think a lot of people who are in that kind of education don't really know, because
Oh, I remember what I was going to ask. What? Okay, I'm curious. So when you talk about workers owning the means of productions and the factories being publicly owned, you say that you don't want them owned by the government or socially owned. Yeah, you say you don't want them owned by a state or a government entity. What do you call the body of people then that come together to own the whatever factory? How do you delegate responsibility or power to them?
Democratically, I would say.
So
democracy in the form of sort of participatory democracy, where the basic principle is, you know, nothing about us without us. The people involved in a decision will be making that decision.
Gotcha. So when you elect people, I'm an American, okay? So because when I think of electing people and democracy, I'm thinking forms of government. What do you call the body of people? Is this not a type of state, or do you have like a different designation for it, or?
A state generally means a fairly specific thing. Now, communists or socialists or anarchists, whatever you want to call those people who fall within my general spectrum of ideology, you know, you can have a government. It's just not supposed to be a state.
Okay, so kind of like if you have a corporation, if you've got a board of electors and you take votes on things, that's not necessarily a state or a government. It's just a public kind of board for like a company, like something like that.
I mean, it's a government of sorts within, if you call like the company as a group of people a community. But yeah, it's not a state. A state is generally defined as an institution with a monopoly on the use of force or violence. And we're kind of against that, because in Marxist theory, at least Leninist theory, the state is fundamentally an instrument of class power.
Okay, well, what if one of the people that owned your factory that was democratically elected came out as a neo-Nazi and you used force against him then? Would you be a state?
Oh, I'm not really The democracy that I was talking about is certainly not a representative democracy.
Gotcha. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just messing with you.
And even in the case of a representative democracy, it's more likely to be delegated in response than purely representative. So a delegate could be recalled at any time. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but any other questions, or maybe we should move to a slightly different topic than property?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can. I don't think I have any. Like I said, I'm not really equipped to have like a detailed breakdown on economic philosophy or anything. So, if you want to move on, that's fine.
I know. I'm gonna just quickly check Lefty Poll. Maybe they've got something to suggest.
Is there a lefty poll on 4chan, or is the 8chan community just larger for them?
8chan. It's just 8chan. There's no Lefty Poll on 4chan.
Why is there no community on 4chan? I'm just curious. I don't actually know why.
I think it's because there's you can't set up boards there.
Okay.
And like Lefty Poll came out of like the exodus from 8Poll anyway.
Gotcha.
No, but like they've literally have no good ideas, so whatever. I'll think of something quickly. A lot of the time you see, especially, I mean, I speak from experience with poll types. There's this conflation of leftists, as in communists, and liberals, where you have this vague idea that, you know, and it all comes down to like the kind of stuff like, oh, Obama is a commie or a socialist or whatever. Or that like Hillary supporters are communists, or that communists support Hillary, whichever way around you want to put it.
Sure.
And this idea that comes from the right that liberals have anything in common with leftists, when we really don't.
I think
And
one of the
this is
big
a lot-
problems is that like all of these terms get so widely used and misused and branded and rebranded that I don't even know if there's like I don't even know if like academically, well, or maybe academically there's like agreed upon usages of these things, but like because there's like you've got liberals, you've got neoliberals, you've got classical liberals, you've got liberalism, you've got libertarian, like, and all of these things mean different things depending on who
Yeah.
you talk to even.
It's a lot to do with the fact that America has developed their own sort of political vocabulary,
Sure.
where you have this idea of liberals and conservatives, which is frankly baffling. So, like, when I use the term liberal, I generally mean it as a classical liberal.
Gotcha.
So, you know,
and I'm not even sure what that
support-
actually means.
A classical liberal generally means someone who advocates for, you know, private property rights and capitalism, generally some amount of free markets and individual liberties.
Okay. If you were to put these on a political spectrum, then a liberal would be on the opposite side as a.
Spectrums are like cancer.
Okay. Well, I'm just to get an idea that these people would be very different than say communists or socialists, right? Okay. I don't want to say. I guess I don't want to use the term opposite, but.
And the problem is that what in American politics comes across as liberals, i.e., like Obama or Hillary or whatever. What comes across as conservatives, so like, you know, your Republicans, your Ted Cruz's, your Marco Rubio's, your Trump's, and what comes across as, you know, your socialists, so Bernie Sanders, or I don't know, who else?
It depends on who you talk to. Every Democrat is a socialist, communist. If you talk to somebody on the right of the political spectrum in the United States, so.
Yeah, but all of these four are liberals, like in the
classical sense, right?
Yeah, like your most hardline Republican is a liberal, and your Bernie Sanders is a liberal.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I mean, sure, like you have your conservatives and you have your social democrats, but they all fundamentally support capitalism. So really, from like a perspective as a communist, there's like no difference.
Okay.
And we oppose all of them.
Gotcha.
Like the only distinction that we really would care to make is between communists, liberals, and fascists. And then, of course, the 10 billion subdivisions of leftist thought where we attack each other for petty things because we can't agree on some minor theoretical differences. So this just leads to constant liberals just completely misinterpreting our views. And it doesn't help that we have very little consistency amongst each other and tend to attack each other more than we attack our actual ideological opposition.
Just curious, I'm sure you get asked this a lot, so you should have a prepared response, I imagine. Why do you think that like communism or socialism hasn't had these massive states in the same way that capitalism has? What's like been the principal failure?
Come on, like when talking about massive states, you don't get more massive than the Soviet Union.
Well, but is that the example that you want to use as your most successful socialist state?
I mean, it wasn't a socialist state, but it was certainly run by socialists for at least some of the time.
Yeah, but couldn't you argue that the whole Cold War was literally like a dick waving contest between capitalism and socialism or communism, and that capitalism kind of came out on top? Why would you attribute, or would you attribute Russia's losses or the Soviet Union's losses to something more than their form of economy, or?
Well, I would say that first of all, the economy of the Soviet Union went through a number of different stages, with what I would describe as socialism, as in genuine worker ownership of the process of production and the management of the economy in the first couple of months after the October Revolution, due to the fact that in the wake of the revolution and just prior to it, the workers did in fact seize their workplaces and establish what were called Soviets, hence the name of the Soviet Union, which is just the Russian word for a council, i.e. councils of workers which manage their workplaces. Which manage a substantial part of the economy, as well as peasants in the countryside seizing farms and forming their own collective farms. Unfortunately, Russia underwent a civil war after the revolution when the supporters of the Tsar wanted to retake power. And you had the civil war with the Reds against the Whites, and of course the foreign interventionists when America and a bunch of other Western nations invaded the young Soviet Union to try and squash it immediately. Something that surprisingly isn't really taught in schools, I find. And as a result, the Soviet Union was forced to implement a policy called war communism, which was pretty much just all the resources go to the army because we need the army to protect ourselves. And army takes absolute priority. The war was won by the Soviet Union, and it re-established itself with territorial losses, notably modern Belarus, significant parts of Poland, the Baltic countries, etc., parts of Finland. However, as it re-established itself, a policy was put in place called the NEP, or New Economic Policy, which was supposed to effectively introduce limited capitalism, or limited free market capitalism with private owners, to try and boost the economy. And this remained in place for a couple of years. However, a majority of the economy became increasingly state-owned as state capitalism set in. State capitalism being when there is private property, but rather than being owned by private individuals, it's owned by the state. And the Soviet Union maintained this policy for most of its history from then on, until you get to Khrushchev, who tried to implement some reforms, slightly adjusting it, and then eventually with Gorbachev implementing broad market reforms and the liberalization of the economy, which eventually led to the downfall of the Soviet Union. So the Soviet Union certainly was not socialist, even if it was run by socialists. However, nonetheless, it has a truly historic record of success in many fields.
How long did the Soviet Union exist for?
From 1917 till 1991.
Okay.
Well, actually, not 1917. 1917 was the revolution. The country was officially established in, I want to say 1922. Might be 1923. I'm not sure. Someone's going to attack me for this.
Gotcha. All right. Well, cool shit. Do you have any final words?
We're coming, buckos.
Do what?
We're coming, buckos.
Oh, never mind. I heard you. Gotcha. Do you really think so? I feel like that's not gonna happen. I don't really like the ideas of publicly owned shit. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not publicly owned. It's socially
Or
owned.
I'm sorry, socially owned. Of socially owned. Or maybe I guess I'm a fan of capitalism. I mean, I've kind of been brainwashed in the system though for the past 28 years of my life. So I would probably it would take me a lot of time to reconsider a totally different system.
Maybe you will reconsider once the harsh economic conditions of the next economic crash set in. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, well, but I don't know. I mean, the United States has been pretty tenacious. I mean, it's existed as a liberal country for 200 some years. No.
Yeah, capitalism in general has existed for that long. You know, feudalism lasted for what? 800 years, 900 years?
Mm-hmm.
Slave-based imperial societies lasted for thousands of years. You know, each society, each mode of production eventually ends.
Oof. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate the conversation. I learned some stuff.
Yeah, I've got to go anyway now.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good luck. Be careful with your Russian cat.
Bye.
Have fun. I'll see you later. Hey, is Cuck here? Wait.
Or ice or whatever.
Where the fuck is Cake at?
Hi.
Wait, is Cake or Stanpet here? Fuck.
Cake is in the server right now. Yeah.
Is he at work or?
I don't know. He's our TBA lol in the server.
What the fuck?
Hey, can you move down for a second?
Yeah. Oh, what's up, buddy?
Okay. Have you had a lot of people message you that the whitelist isn't working, or you get people that message you?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Okay, I think I know-
Apparently, it's something with the plugin.
No. So I think I'm almost positive I know what the problem is. Every time, or well, okay, hold on. Whoa, I don't want to say that. But of all the issues of the dozens of people that I've had message me, okay, the problem seems to be on the website that sometimes when people enter their name, that UUID doesn't populate for whatever reason, on the site. And the way that I fix it is I do a manual lookup of the UUID, and then I just populate that field. I hit save, and then they're able to join.
I'm pretty sure I talked to Scene about this earlier today, and that it wasn't that it was something with the plugin.
No, it's not.
You look-
I just had this with 2 different people that are now on the server, and I've had this with multiple people in the past. That's what I do to fix the problem, and I've never had that not work. I don't think. If there was
You know what? We had to do that when on the old server too, didn't we?
Yeah.
With my account.
if there was a button on my website on our backend, if the user could push a refresh button that could do a call to, I'm sure that a site, this MCUUID, or there's got to be some API to validate.
I think
UUIDs.
Minecraft itself has an
Yeah,
API for
yeah,
it.
yeah. That's where these sites are probably pulling it from, right? If you could push a refresh button as a user to refresh that UUID, I'm willing to bet that would solve like 95% of the whitelist problems, because that's what I'm having to do. Is whenever I go and look up, when somebody says, hey, the whitelist isn't working, I'll go and I'll look up their account on the website, and then when I look at their account, they have their Minecraft name filled in, but the UUID is blank.
Okay, this is going to be a question for Scene then, because that's all stuff that like I never set up. That was all.
Yeah,
originally,
that's
like,
all
Stampback,
website.
right?
Yeah, that's all website backend. But just so that you don't waste time troubleshooting the plugin or whatever, I'm pretty sure that if you could either talk to Scene or Stampet or whoever's in charge of that, I shot Scene a message that if that thing was changed so that the user could just push a refresh button to force a repopulation of that field, That would fix like all the whitelist problems, I think.
Yeah, I'll let him and the what's it called, the dev dude know. There's that you should be able to see it. There's a Minecraft dash ops channel.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where like all the shit posting about this whole thing's been going on.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, have fun.
So,
Wait,
all
are
right,
you at work
yeah,
right now?
No, I took off today.
What the fuck? Oh yeah, that's
Oh.
right. You see, you don't work till 6. That's right. Oh hey, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a master hacker, and I don't know how to screen things. If I close this window that I used to restart the server last night, is the whole server gonna shut down?
Okay, you gotta do 2 different key commands. So do Control A.
Okay.
So hit that and then press D, and it'll detach you from it.
Control A D. Oh, I'm detached. So did that like
Yep.
put it in a screen now?
Yeah, well, it starts it in a screen, and then it jumps you right. That start script that I sent you, since it jumps it right into the screen. So it'll just
Oh.
continue to run in that. So
Okay,
like if you
gotcha.
did a screen dash X in the
Mhm.
console, like screen space dash X, it'll jump you back into it.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Well, I exited that shit now.
Okay. All right,
Um,
I'm gonna go back to playing Cutcraft.
Well, hey, good luck, buddy.
Hey, you too.
Coal or whatever you use to smelt
Yeah.
though.
So this shit is really fucking efficient, is what I'm getting.
Wait, what's really efficient?
Inefficient. The 4 iron ore.
Oh.
I mean, 1 bucket of lava can smelt an entire stack, so it's not too bad.
Wait, you can use lava to smelt?
Yeah,
if
dude.
you put
Oh, if you put it in a bucket, yeah.
a bucket, yeah.
So for us who can't join, do we just wait till it's fixed? Wait, can you not join G mode? What is BYOBU? Build your own butt? Nah, I can't think of anything. Fuck me. I fucked up. Yeah, this guy's running into the exact same problem. Hey, wait, hey, who's the guy that said he couldn't join? Where are you? G mode. Are there instructions for getting the mods and joining the server? Yeah, it's in the Discord. Whoops. Is this guy still talking?
Now, we all know that President Trump has said some unacceptable things about the intelligence community, accusing them of leaks and of politicizing intelligence. Those of us who serve on the Select Committee on Intelligence, and indeed all of us in Congress, and I know I see my friend, the chairman of the committee here on the floor, know that those attacks were unwarranted and should not be continued. Congressman Pompeo did not participate in those attacks. Instead, throughout his tenure on the House Intelligence Committee, he showed respect for the intelligence community and worked to help make them even better. His former colleagues and staff of the committee speak highly of him, even when they disagreed. Since he was nominated for the position of director, Mr. Pompeo has spent a great deal of time at the CIA, working with the professionals out there to understand his new role and the challenges he will face. We've had a number of conversations about that. I've heard nothing that undermines my view that he will treat the...
Okay, boys. I think it's league time. All these guys that I played with last season. Oh, this guy's platinum 2. Your profile, plat 4. They're all like low plat. What am I supposed to do with this shit? Plat 5. Are there any Diamond 3 to Diamond 5 players?